back. Hi, friends. Welcome to Ivy's Fortress. I'm Ashanti, your reading friend, and Aubrey and Sophie are here with us. We are presenting another video of our Read-Aloud Marathon. I realized that I was not close enough last time. So this is, I'm just scooting my stuff up. Yeah, that's what happens when you run an unscripted YouTube channel. That's why we read books. You just do whatever you want. So I am here with Saturday at the Food Pantry. This is by Diane O'Neill. I have my hold sticker on here. I'm going to go ahead and take that off. And illustrated by Brizida Margo. And I learned last time that sometimes they have the pronunciation, so I'm just always going to double check when I see a name that I might struggle with a little bit. So if I did pronounce that incorrectly, I do apologize, author and illustrator, but this is what we're reading today. I've seen this book quite a few times. When I was working in a library, I seen it there as well. So I am kind of like interested because Saturday at the food pantry could mean a lot of things. Like, are we going shopping? Is this a food pantry that we're getting free food from? What are we talking about here? So let's go ahead and get reading. Everyone needs help sometimes. Got it. Molly has never been to a food pantry before. It's different than a grocery store. Molly and her mom have to wait in line, check in, and there are signs posted everywhere. Then Molly sees her classmate, Caitlin, but Caitlin isn't happy to see Molly. She doesn't want anyone to know she gets food from the pantry. Molly begins to wonder if there's something wrong with accepting help. Heartwarming and sensitive, this story shines a light on the reality of food insecurity for millions of children. Now, I had a great relationship with food growing up, but as I got to college and became an adult and my struggle presented itself a lot different, I needed help from my communities. And communities that have food pantries are really looking out for the families, the individuals that can't necessarily provide for themselves with what they already have. And I think if we continue to make sure that we're treating those with respect and empathy when they are utilizing those food pantries, because there may be a phase in our lives where all of us might have to utilize a food pantry. And my experience was always great. Sometimes we would say like, oh, we prefer the leg quarters of the chicken versus the actual thighs, the skin on and bone in thighs. And our food pantry community organizers would accommodate us. And that's amazing, truthfully, when there are people in your community that can make adjustments to meet your little wants or your slight demands, even when you may be struggling. I was struggling at the time, and it felt so good to know that there's people in our community that look out for us and look out for the people who just don't have enough. So I'm very grateful, and I love that I'm reading such a book like this. And let's get reading, because you know I can yap right on. I already read it. So I was telling y'all my story. Forgot I read the inside cover. Saturday at the Food Pantry by Diane O'Neill, illustrated by Brizida Margo. This is the Albert Whitman and Company published book in Chicago, Illinois. Dinner, Mom called. Chili again? Molly asked. They had it every day this week, last week too. Yep, Mom said. Tastes even better. The spices sink in. Mom ladled the last of the chili into their bowls. We have fancy milk too. Molly grinned. She watched Mom pour milk into the sugar and spices in her cup. Mom shook the milk carton just a tiny splash and put it in the refrigerator. Tomorrow we'll get food, Mom said. We're going shopping? Molly's eyes lit up. Chicken and spaghetti and ice cream. Well, sort of. We're going to a food pantry. What's a food pantry? Molly asked. It's a place for people who need food. Mom stood straight, her chin high. Everybody needs help sometimes. At bedtime, Mom usually made warm, fancy milk and read a story. Tonight, just a story. Molly tossed and turned, trying to sleep. Her hunger growled. The next morning, they walked to the food pantry. Why do we need to wait? Molly asked. The pantry isn't open yet, Mom said. It's only open certain hours. Molly pulled paper and crayons out of her backpack. She started drawing. Then she looked up. Look, Mom, there's Caitlin. She's in my class. Hey, Caitlin. Caitlin looked away. Molly ran over to her. Didn't you hear me? Caitlin looked down. I don't want anybody to know Gran and I need help, she whispered. Oh. Molly walked back to her mom. Was there something wrong with needing help? Molly wanted to go home, but she was hungry. You okay, Mom asked. Why don't you draw me a picture? I love your drawings. The woman in front of them turned, smiling at Molly. An artist. Will you draw one for me, too? Molly pulled out her crayons again, maybe drawing a happy picture with cheer up. Hey, can you draw me a picture, too? Me, too. Will you draw me one? Molly ran to Caitlin with her paper and crayons in her hands. Help! Everybody wants pictures. I can't draw that fast. Caitlin looked up. Well, okay. Soon a woman opened the door. Molly and Caitlin each handed her a picture. Thank you. What wonderful gifts. Welcome. Please sign in, said the man at the desk. Mom didn't have to sign her name. When they went to the grocery store, Molly thought. But the man smiled at them. Thanks. Grab a cart and stop here when you're done. Lots of good food today. Thanks, Mom said. She smiled, but just a little, not when they played in the park. I'm having a hard time getting through the story. The food pantry was like the little store where they sometimes bought bread and milk. Cans and boxes were on plain metal shelves. Molly ran toward a shelf and picked up a box of sugar cookies. No, Mom said. Then she whispered, the people in charge, don't want us to take sensible stuff. Mom's face turned pink. Molly's eyes widened. Why did her mom think that? Why were cookies here if we weren't supposed to take them? The woman at the door and the man at the desk had seemed nice. Would they really not want Molly and her mom to have cookies? Molly swallowed tears. She put the cookies back. They would have been good with fancy milk. Help me put food in the cart, Mom sighed. And just like Caitlin, Mom looked like she wanted to be invisible. But none of them were doing anything wrong. Everybody needs help sometimes, Molly whispered to her mom. Remember? Mom smiled. You're right. Molly pointed at a sign on a huge bin of fruit. What if somebody wants 2 cantaloupes? A lot of people need help, Mom said. They have to make sure they have enough food for everybody who comes here. Molly and Mom put oranges and cantaloupe in their cart. Mom handed Molly cans of corn, tomatoes, and clean peaches, bags of red beans, pinto beans, and brown rice, a loaf of wheat bread, a box of oatmeal, and a bag of sugar, spaghetti noodles, sauce, and grated cheese, raisins and tuna, and peanut butter too. Mom reached for a big box of powdered milk. We'll have fancy milk tonight. They checked out at the desk. The man pointed to the wall. Oh, Molly ran to Caitlin. Come here, look. Molly's rainbow sparkled. Caitlin's elf grinned. I was in a sad mood, the man said. Your artwork helped. Your artwork helped. Thank you. He put their groceries into the bags. Then he handed Molly's mom a box of sugar cookies. Saw your little girl looking at these. She can have them, if that's okay with you, ma'am. Mom had a funny look, almost like she wanted to cry. She nodded. Thank you. Everybody deserves a treat, the man said. Enjoy. Molly and Mom walked home. They each carried a bulging bag. Molly! She looked around and saw Caitlin and her gran. I didn't know you lived so close, Mom said to Caitlin's gran. How nice. We're neighbors, Caitlin's gran said. I keep looking for work. They closed the factory, Mom said. I've been sick, said Caitlin's gran. We got lots of yummy food, Molly said. Did you? Yeah, Caitlin shrugged. I just wish we didn't have to come to a food pantry. Molly said, but everybody needs help sometimes. And we helped. We cheered people up. Caitlin grinned. We did, didn't we? I have an idea. Let's have lunch together. Yes, Caitlin agreed. And we have dessert, Molly said. The man at the pantry gave me sugar cookies. There's enough for all of us. Let's eat. And they did. All right. That was such a good story. Got me a little emotional. First time here on Ivy's Fortress. Food insecurity and malnutrition has a big place in my heart. So hence why I got a bit more emotional than I had planned. But nonetheless, it's story time. Anything can happen in story time. All right, so a note for adults and caregivers about food insecurity. Molly and her mother are right. Everybody needs help sometimes. There should be no shame in turning to a food pantry during a time of need. Children need nutritious food to grow, learn, and thrive. In the United States in 2019, more than 35 million people struggle to consistently afford nutritious food, a socioeconomic condition often referred to as food insecurity, according to Feeding America, the nation's leading anti-hunger organization. In 2020, that number is estimated to have increased to more than 50 million because of the coronavirus pandemic. Child hunger has also soared during this pandemic. About 1 in 3 households with children reported having difficulty affording food, according to a 2020 study from economists at Northwestern University. Food insecurity exists in every community, regardless of geography. People living in rural communities often face hunger at higher rates because of scarce job opportunities and longer distances to grocery stores and other sources of food. Here in Chicago and in other urban areas across the country, Black and Latina communities are disproportionately affected by food insecurity because of years of racial disparities. Sadly, many communities of colors have inequitable access to foods, jobs, housing, and healthcare. Food is a human right. No one should have to go hungry. Everyone should have access to fresh fruits and vegetables, proteins, dairies, whole grain, and yes, Molly, the occasional cookie. If you find yourself struggling to afford food, please contact your local food bank to find the nearest distribution site. If you're unsure how to do that, visit www.feedingamerica.org to find the food bank serving your community. Government assistance called the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program also provides important food assistance to millions of America. Food insecurity is not a permanent condition. Life can be hard and sometimes unfair, but it can get better too. Many people who turn to food pantries or SNAP often find themselves helping others in need later in life. Together, we can help one another go from hungry to hopeful. That was written by Kate Mayer, Executive Director and CEO of Greater Chicago Food Depository. Diane O'Neill holds a BA in writing, English with honors from Columbia College, and MFA with distinction from National University. She remembers going to a food pantry as a child and has a passion for social justice. Diane lives in Chicago. You can find her online at dianeo'neill.inc. Brizida Magro is an illustrator and educator based in Boulder, Colorado, who grew up in Portugal. She teaches illustration classes at Rocky Mountain College of Art and Design. She has a passion for mountains, wandering the world, and bringing her stories to life. Visit her at sweetbeyond.com. So, as I clear myself up from these tears I shed from reading this story, I would like to share that it's important that you also touch on your people and community and reach out to them and not just rely on your government and your community food pantry. Sometimes your neighbor can be just as helpful in times like this. And don't be afraid to ask, because at the end of the day, every kid deserves food. And how we get healthy food is solely your business, but make sure you have it. That's all I have for you, friends, today. Catch you next time. Hopefully, no tears. Bye. We truly enjoy sharing our adventures with you here at Ivy's Fortress. If you do too, like our videos and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Well, what are you doing? It is your choice, but we'll race you there. Bye.